I specifically told you.
There it is.
Next week. It's denim block.
They keep stacking. This shit is second nature.
I don't know what in life happened to make you think that this wasn't gonna happen. I don't know what the bro do to not be able to see that this was gonna happen. So where's the surprise at? I'm sure why were you surprised?
Man, listen, Shedeur we talked about it earlier, he's talented. Like, he has all the talent and ability you want. He has the leadership qualities you need.
He still broke records that your Pro Bowler and Super Bowl contestants haven't even touched in the NFL level.
Shedeur was my 20th player. He's a first-round caliber player. Like, talent-wise, both those guys, I think, have a huge advantage over Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett has to be light years better.
He's an actual proven talent. He's proven that every single team you put him on, he becomes better.
My expectations have absolutely changed. Absolutely. My expectations have changed because a lot of what we're hearing from Cleveland has changed. Again,
the information that was out on Shedeur Sanders came from a lot of people that a lot of people trust and people think that are credible.
And it's that branding, bro, being a walking business brand. He's a 5th-round pick, and he generated damn near well over $300 million already in merchandise sale.
People are trying to assign from a personality standpoint to Shedeur Sanders, and I think that's incredibly unfair to the young man.
99% of the online scrutiny is because of my dad. And he is exactly right. That's why it was really a mistake.
Shedeur Sanders' first NFL game wasn't just a good start. It was the kind of debut that forces an entire league to take notice. He didn't look like a rookie finding his footing. He looked like a quarterback who'd been running the offense for years. Fans inside the stadium witnessed it firsthand, and the buzz has only grown louder since the final whistle. From his opening snap, Sanders carried himself like he owned the field. His dropbacks were crisp, his reads decisive, and his throws delivered with sharp precision. The fans could sense it right away. There was no hesitancy, no nervous shuffle in the pocket, no wasted movement. On his first completion, a quick strike over the middle for a first down, the noise inside the stadium surged. By the second drive, entire sections were standing before the snap, waiting for him to deliver again. Team officials in the press box leaned forward in their seats as Sanders began dismantling the defense's coverage schemes. The opposing sideline, expecting a learning curve they could exploit, instead found themselves scrambling to adjust. Every blitz call was met with a quick release to a hot route. Every disguised coverage was picked apart with throws into the exact soft spots the defense didn't want him to find. One eyewitness in the lower bowl, seated just behind the visiting team's bench, described it simply: they couldn't rattle him. They tried everything, sending extra rushers, shifting coverages, pressing his receivers, and he stayed one step ahead all night. The highlight of the first quarter came on a play that already feels destined for season recaps. With defenders crashing in from both edges, Sanders rolled to his weak side, squared his shoulders mid-stride, and delivered a 35-yard rope that landed perfectly in his receiver's hands. The stadium erupted. On the replay, the pocket collapse looked like a sure sack, but his composure under pressure turned a broken play into a momentum-shifting moment. Sideline cameras caught the reaction. Teammates mobbing him after the drive, offensive linemen high-fiving each other, and even defensive players coming over to congratulate him. The coaching staff, instead of dialing things back for a rookie, began expanding the playbook mid-game, trusting him with more complex reads and deeper routes. He rewarded them with clean execution drive after drive. By the end of the first half, Sanders had already built a stat line that would satisfy most quarterbacks in a full game. But more telling than the numbers was the control he exerted over the flow of play. He slowed the game down when needed, milking the clock to keep the defense fresh. He sped it up when he sensed defenders were winded, forcing them into mismatches and coverage breakdowns. In the stands, the fans were locked in. Merchandise booths sold out of Sanders jerseys before halftime. Concession lines were full of people talking about his composure, his arm strength, and his ability to hit receivers in stride. "It's like he's been here for years," one fan said while holding up his phone to show a slow-motion replay of the touchdown pass that closed the second quarter. City officials in attendance also noticed the atmosphere. The crowd noise was so intense that multiple opposing players had to motion for each other to get closer in the huddle because they couldn't hear the calls. Local sports representatives commented afterward that the energy inside the stadium hadn't been that high in years, and that it would have a ripple effect across the city's businesses in the days to come. Defensively, the opposition was running out of answers. Veteran players shook their heads after near-perfect throws, muttering to each other as they walked back to the sideline. The defensive coordinator went through his entire adjustment sheet by halftime, and still Sanders found ways to counter. Zone coverages were dissected. Man-to-man matchups were turned into highlight reels. Blitzes came up empty, leaving defensive backs stranded in single coverage. Broadcasters covering the game could hardly keep up with the replays. Each passing drive seemed to produce another clip worth analyzing. A perfect back shoulder throw, a pinpoint dart on 3rd and long, or a subtle pump fake that froze the safety long enough for a receiver to break free. Analysts on the halftime show called it one of the most polished rookie halves they had ever seen. By the time the teams jogged to the locker rooms, the narrative was set. This wasn't just a debut, it was an arrival. Shedeur Sanders had walked into his first NFL game and controlled it from the opening whistle, earning the respect of teammates, coaches, and opponents alike. And from the stadium crowd to the press box to living rooms across the country, the reaction was unanimous. He destroyed in his debut, and now the whole league is on alert. The final whistle didn't end the story, it only amplified it. As fans poured out of the stadium, the conversations were all the same. People recounted every key throw, every escape from pressure, every perfectly timed decision. Groups huddled in parking lots replaying phone footage, breaking down the debut as if they were analysts on a broadcast. The excitement spilled into nearby bars and restaurants, where televisions looped highlight packages and every cheer sounded like the game was still going on. Inside the locker room, the atmosphere was a mix of celebration and disbelief. Veterans who had been through countless games made a point to stop by Shedeur Sanders' locker, shaking his hand and offering quiet words of respect. One lineman, still in full pads, told reporters, "You can't fake what he did out there. That's the kind of leadership you can build a whole season around." The head coach addressed the media with measured praise, clearly trying to keep expectations balanced, but unable to hide his satisfaction. He spoke about Sanders' preparation during the week, his composure in high-pressure moments, and the way he elevated the play of everyone around him. Assistant coaches were less reserved, with one saying privately, "We opened up plays tonight that some veterans struggle with, and he hit them without hesitation." The opposing team's reaction told a different story. Their defensive game plan, designed to bait a rookie into mistakes, had been dismantled before halftime. A veteran cornerback admitted post-game that Sanders wasn't playing like a first-timer and that he made quick reads that neutralized their pressure. On the sideline during the game, defensive players had exchanged frustrated looks after each conversion, realizing they were running out of answers. Fans outside the stadium made it clear they were ready to buy in. Merchandise trucks reported selling out of Sanders jerseys and hats by the end of the third quarter. Street vendors who had stocked extra gear for the debut said it was gone long before the game ended. One fan holding a freshly bought jersey summed it up. "This isn't hype, this is real. We've been waiting for a quarterback like this for years." City officials noticed the surge in energy beyond the stadium walls. Local restaurants reported packed tables hours after the game, and rideshare drivers were backed up in long queues as fans lingered downtown. Some businesses even extended their hours to take advantage of the unexpected boom. A city spokesperson remarked, "It's not just about football. Nights like this bring the whole community together." Across the NFL, analysts and former players began dissecting the debut on late-night broadcasts. They pointed out how Sanders manipulated defenders with his eyes, how his footwork kept him balanced under pressure, and how his timing with receivers suggested months of chemistry rather than weeks. On one national panel, a retired quarterback called the performance a blueprint for how to start a career, and predicted that defensive coordinators would already be studying tape to figure out how to slow him down. Social media only amplified the reaction. Hashtags with Sanders' name surged to the top of trending lists. Fans posted videos from inside the stadium showing how loud it got after each big play. Other NFL players, some from rival teams, sent out congratulatory posts, signaling that his debut had made waves in locker rooms around the league. Meanwhile, Sanders himself wasn't acting like a player who had just lit up the league in his first game. He stayed behind with coaches to review game footage, pointing out small corrections and noting plays where he could have been sharper. Teammates said his focus on improvement after such a strong showing was what impressed them the most. "If this is him on day one," one veteran said, "just imagine him in a year." The game may be over, but the impact is still unfolding. Fans are already circling the next home date on their calendars. Opponents are revising scouting reports. Media outlets are preparing extended features on how a rookie could come into the league and dismantle a defense with such ease. The verdict from the league is unanimous. Shedeur Sanders didn't just have a good debut, he delivered one of the most complete and dominant first games in recent memory. He took control from the first snap, never let go, and left everyone, fans, opponents, city officials, and NFL veterans, talking about what they had just seen. And the scariest part for the rest of the league? This is only the beginning.